I keep hearing the same story from woodworkers and metal shop owners. They click on a sleek dust collector picture, order it, and then spend a weekend wrestling with airflow that never quite clears the shop. The frustration is real because a dusty workspace isn't just messy, it's a health hazard, a fire risk, and it slows down every project. That's why I wanted to dig a little deeper before I hit buy on the Laguna Tools Flux 22HP Cyclone dust collector. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about why the Flux 2 shows up in a lot of best of lists. It's a 2 HP unit, rated for 220V, and it promises cyclone separation that should keep the filter clean longer. Those numbers sound impressive on paper, but the real test is how the machine behaves when you hook it up to a 10-inch table saw, a router table, and maybe a small band saw in a typical hobby shop. I spent a few evenings running those tools through the collector, and the experience gave me a clear picture of who will actually benefit from this machine and who might be better off looking elsewhere. The first thing you notice when you pull the Flux 2 out of its box is the size. It's not a wall-mounted unit, it sits on a sturdy steel base with wheels that lock in place. That means you can roll it around your shop if you need to rearrange, but you also have to allocate a permanent corner for it if you want the airflow path to stay short and efficient. The inlet is a standard 6-inch hose connection, which fits most shop vac and dust exhaust ports without adapters. I ran a 6-inch hose from my table saw's dust port directly into the collector, and the connection held firm without any leaks, even when the saw was pushing a lot of material. Airflow performance is where the Cyclone design really shows its worth. Unlike a plain bag filter, the Flux 2 uses a cyclonic pre-separator that throws heavier particles to the sides where they drop into a collection bin. In practice, I noticed that after an hour of cutting hardwood, the filter still felt relatively clean, and the suction didn't drop noticeably. That matters because many cheaper dust collectors lose suction quickly as the filter clogs, forcing you to stop work and clean or replace the bag. With this unit, you can keep the shop running longer between maintenance stops. That said, the Cyclone isn't a magic bullet. Fine dust still makes its way to the filter, and the unit's filter cartridge does need regular cleaning. The filter is a pleated element that you tap out or wash with a garden hose. I found that a quick rinse every few weeks kept the airflow near peak, but if you're cutting a lot of MDF or particle board, you'll have to clean the filter more often. It's a trade-off. You get longer intervals between full filter changes, but you do have to schedule those rinstones in your routine. Power requirements are another practical consideration. The Flux 2 runs on a 220V line and draws about 7 amps at full speed, which means you need a dedicated 20-amp breaker if you're wiring it yourself. The product listing mentions a recommended breaker, and I double-checked my shop's panel before I plugged it in. If you only have standard 110V outlets, you'll have to invest in a step-up transformer or a new circuit, which adds to the overall cost. For a shop already wired for 220V, this isn't an issue, but for a beginner working out of a garage with only a few standard outlets, the electrical upgrade could be a deal-breaker. Noise level is something I paid attention to because I work on projects that require a bit of concentration. The Flux 2 isn't whisper quiet, but it's also not a roaring beast. At full speed, the motor hums in the low to mid 60 dB range, comparable to a conversation in a busy office. When I turned it down to a lower speed for light sanding tasks, the sound dropped noticeably without sacrificing enough suction to be a problem. If you're sensitive to noise, the ability to dial the motor back is a useful feature, but you won't get the kind of silent operation you might find in a high-end commercial system. One hidden trade-off is the size of the collection bin. The Flux 2 holds about 30 liters of material, which is enough for a day of moderate cutting, but if you're running a big job that generates a lot of shavings, say a full-scale cabinet build, you'll find yourself emptying the bin more often than you'd like. The bin is easy to lift out, but it does add a small step in the workflow. For shops that produce a high volume of dust daily, a larger bin or a continuous flow system might be worth considering. So who should actually buy the Laguna Flux 2? If you're a serious hobbyist or a small to medium shop that already runs a 220V line, Need reliable suction for both wood.